Benito Amilcare Andrea Mussolini was born on July 29, 1883, in Predappio, Italy. This small town, nestled in the Emilia-Romagna region, would be the starting point of a life that would eventually leave a significant mark on world history. His father, Alessandro Mussolini, was a blacksmith and a fervent socialist. Alessandro's workshop was not just a place of labor, but also a hub of political discourse. He often engaged in heated discussions with fellow socialists, which left a lasting impression on young Benito. His mother, Rosa Maltoni, was a devout Catholic school teacher. Rosa's influence was equally strong, instilling in Benito a sense of discipline and a familiarity with Catholic teachings, even though he would later distance himself from the church. Mussolini's upbringing was a complex blend of his father's fiery political views and his mother's traditional beliefs. This duality created a turbulent environment at home, where political debates were as common as religious observances. Mussolini's childhood was marked by poverty and a rebellious spirit. The economic hardships of the time meant that the family often struggled to make ends meet, which fueled Benito's desire to rise above his circumstances. He was expelled from several schools for his disruptive behavior and violent outbursts. His teachers found him difficult to manage, and his aggressive nature often led to conflicts with both peers and authority figures. Despite his academic troubles, he was a voracious reader, devouring works of philosophy, history, and political theory. Books became his refuge, offering him a window into worlds far beyond his immediate reality. These early readings, particularly the works of Karl Marx and Friedrich Nietzsche, would profoundly shape his worldview. Marx's ideas on socialism and class struggle, combined with Nietzsche's concepts of power and individualism, resonated deeply with him. Mussolini's early adulthood was characterized by a restless search for purpose. He was constantly seeking ways to channel his energy and ideas, often finding himself at odds with the conventional paths laid out before him. He briefly worked as an elementary school teacher, but was soon drawn to the world of journalism and political activism. Teaching did not satisfy his ambitions, and he found a more fitting outlet for his talents in writing and public speaking. In 1902, he emigrated to Switzerland to avoid military service. This move was not just an act of defiance, but also a strategic decision to immerse himself in a broader political landscape. While in Switzerland, he immersed himself in the socialist movement, attending rallies, writing for socialist newspapers, and developing his skills as a powerful orator. His time in Switzerland was formative, providing him with the experience and confidence to later become a prominent political figure in Italy. The connections he made and the ideas he encountered during this period would be instrumental in shaping his future endeavors. Mussolini's early life was marked by a complex interplay of influences. Born in 1883 in a small town in Italy, he grew up in a household that was both politically charged and deeply religious. His father, Alessandro Mussolini, was a fervent socialist and an advocate for workers' rights. Alessandro's passionate speeches and unwavering commitment to the socialist cause left a lasting impression on young Benito. These early experiences instilled in him a deep-seated resentment of authority and a belief in the power of revolution to bring about social change. His father's socialist ideals instilled in him a deep-seated resentment of authority and a belief in the power of revolution. Alessandro's influence was profound, shaping Benito's worldview and his understanding of social justice. The young Mussolini often accompanied his father to political meetings and rallies, where he was exposed to the fervor and passion of the socialist movement. These experiences ignited a fire within him, fueling his desire to challenge the status quo and fight for the rights of the oppressed. His mother's religious faith, while less pronounced in his later years, contributed to his sense of destiny and his penchant for dramatic gestures. Rosa Maltoni, Mussolini's mother, was a devout Catholic who instilled in her son a sense of moral duty and a belief in the divine. Although Mussolini would later distance himself from the church, the early influence of his mother's faith left an indelible mark on his character. It was this combination of socialist fervor and religious conviction that shaped Mussolini's early years and set the stage for his future ambitions. Beyond his family, Mussolini was deeply influenced by the intellectual currents of his time. The late 19th and early 20th centuries were a period of great social and political upheaval, with new ideas and philosophies challenging traditional norms. Mussolini was an avid reader and a keen observer of the world around him. He was particularly drawn to the writings of Friedrich Nietzsche, whose ideas about the Superman and the will to power resonated deeply with him. He was drawn to the writings of Friedrich Nietzsche, particularly the concept of the Superman, an individual who transcends conventional morality and shapes the world according to their will. Nietzsche's philosophy of the Superman, or Übermensch, captivated Mussolini's imagination. He saw himself as a man destined to rise above the ordinary and to lead his people to greatness. This idea of transcending conventional morality and shaping the world according to one's will became a central tenet of Mussolini's own ideology. This idea resonated with Mussolini's own ambitions and his belief in the power of individual will. He believed that through sheer force of will, he could overcome any obstacle and achieve his goals. This belief in the power of individual will was a driving force behind Mussolini's actions and decisions throughout his life. It was this unwavering confidence in his own abilities that propelled him to the forefront of Italian politics and ultimately led to his rise to power. Mussolini's socialist leanings were also shaped by the writings of Karl Marx. Marx's critique of capitalism and his vision of a classless society resonated with Mussolini's own experiences and observations. He saw the inequalities and injustices of the capitalist system and was drawn to Marx's ideas about class struggle and the need for revolutionary change. Mussolini embraced Marx's vision of a society where the working class would rise up and overthrow the bourgeoisie, leading to a new era of equality and social justice. He embraced Marx's critique of capitalism and his vision of a classless society. However, Mussolini's interpretation of socialism was unique and differed from that of many of his contemporaries. While he was inspired by Marx's ideas, he also believed in the importance of strong leadership and the power of the nation-state. Mussolini saw the potential for socialism to be a unifying force, bringing together the people of Italy under a common cause and a strong, charismatic leader. However, Mussolini's interpretation of socialism differed from that of many of his contemporaries. He was less interested in internationalism and class solidarity, and more focused on the power of the nation-state and the role of charismatic leadership. Mussolini believed that a strong, unified Italy could achieve greatness, and that the socialist movement could be harnessed to achieve this goal. His vision of socialism was one that emphasized national pride and unity, rather than the international solidarity that was espoused by many other socialists of his time. He was less interested in internationalism and class solidarity, and more focused on the power of the nation-state and the role of charismatic leadership. Mussolini's unique blend of socialist ideals and nationalist fervor set him apart from other leaders of his time. He believed that through strong leadership and a unified national identity, Italy could overcome its challenges and achieve greatness. This focus on the nation-state and charismatic leadership would become a defining feature of Mussolini's political career and his vision for Italy's future. In 1904, Mussolini returned to Italy and continued his involvement in the Socialist Party. He had been deeply influenced by his time in Switzerland, where he was exposed to various socialist ideas and movements. This experience solidified his commitment to the cause and fueled his ambition to make a significant impact upon his return. He quickly rose through the ranks, becoming a prominent voice in the party's newspaper, Avanti. His role as an editor allowed him to shape public opinion and rally support for socialist ideals. Through his articles, he addressed pressing social issues, criticized the existing political order, and called for radical changes to improve the lives of the working class. His passionate writing and fiery speeches, often denouncing the bourgeoisie and advocating for workers' rights, earned him both admiration and notoriety. Mussolini's ability to connect with the masses and articulate their struggles made him a key figure in the socialist movement. He organized rallies and demonstrations, where he fervently spoke about the need for social justice and the redistribution of wealth. The outbreak of World War I in 1914 proved to be a turning point in Mussolini's political evolution. The war brought about a profound shift in the global political landscape, and Mussolini found himself grappling with new realities and challenges. The conflict's scale and devastation forced him to reconsider his earlier beliefs and strategies. Initially, he shared the Socialist Party's pacifist stance, arguing against Italy's involvement in the conflict. He believed that the war would only serve the interests of the ruling elite and bring further suffering to the working class. Mussolini's early anti-war position resonated with many socialists who saw the conflict as an imperialist venture. However, he soon became convinced that Italy's participation in the war was necessary for the country to assert itself as a major power. Mussolini argued that the war presented an opportunity for Italy to achieve national unity and strength. He believed that by joining the conflict, Italy could secure its place on the world stage and gain the respect of other nations. This shift towards interventionism put Mussolini at odds with the Socialist Party, which remained committed to neutrality. The party's leadership viewed the war as a capitalist ploy and refused to support any form of military engagement. Mussolini's pro-war stance led to heated debates and internal conflicts within the party, as members struggled to reconcile their differing views. In 1914, he was expelled from the party for his pro-war stance. This expulsion was a significant blow to Mussolini, as it marked the end of his association with the socialist movement. However, it also freed him from the constraints of party ideology and allowed him to explore new political avenues. This expulsion marked a decisive break with his socialist past and set him on a new path, one that would lead him to embrace nationalism, militarism, and ultimately, fascism. Mussolini's transformation from a socialist to a fascist leader was driven by his desire to create a strong, unified Italy. He believed that only through a centralized, authoritarian government could the nation achieve greatness and overcome its internal divisions. This new ideology would eventually lead him to establish a totalitarian regime, forever altering the course of Italian history.